Rainforest Cafe is one of those places that sticks in your memory, not just for the food, but for the entire experience. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was an adventure. From the second you walked in, you were immersed in a jungle filled with animatronic animals, lush greenery, fake thunderstorms, and a soundtrack of chirping birds and roaring waterfalls. For kids, it felt like stepping into another world, and for parents, it was a guaranteed crowd pleaser. But over the years, Rainforest Cafe went from being one of the hottest themed dining experiences of the 1990s to a nostalgic memory, with far fewer locations today. What exactly happened to Rainforest Cafe? The story of Rainforest Cafe starts with a man named Steven Schussler, an entrepreneur who had a knack for thinking big. In the early 1990s, themed restaurants were starting to gain traction. Planet Hollywood was making waves with its Hollywood memorabilia and star-backed branding, and Hard Rock Cafe had already built a name for itself as a rock and roll dining destination. Steven saw an opportunity to create something even more immersive. He wanted to combine dining with a theme that appealed to all ages and tapped into people's sense of adventure. His idea? A restaurant that felt like you were eating inside a rainforest. To bring his vision to life, Steven went to extreme lengths to prove his concept. Legend has it that he transformed his own home in Minnesota into a full-on jungle, complete with tropical birds, waterfalls, and animatronic animals, just to show investors what the experience would look like. When executives visited his house, they were blown away. Soon after, Rainforest Cafe was born. The first Rainforest Cafe opened at the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota in 1994. The Mall of America, already a massive entertainment hub, was the perfect place to debut such an ambitious dining concept. The restaurant instantly drew crowds with its over-the-top theming. Every inch of the place was designed to make you feel like you were deep in the Amazon. Trees and vines dangled from the ceiling, aquariums filled with tropical fish lined the walls, and animatronic gorillas, elephants, and tigers would suddenly come to life with realistic movements and sounds. Every 20 minutes, a simulated thunderstorm would roll through the restaurant, complete with flashing lights and rumbling thunder. It was immersive, exciting, and unlike anything most people had ever seen. The food wasn't necessarily the main draw, but the menu had something for everyone. Burgers, pasta, chicken dishes, seafood, and kid-friendly meals made it easy for families to dine there without worrying about picky eaters. There was also a merchandise store called the Rainforest Cafe Retail Village, where customers could buy plush animals, t-shirts, mugs, and other jungle-themed souvenirs to remember their visit. This combination of food, spectacle, and shopping was a winning formula. By the late 90s, Rainforest Cafe was exploding in popularity. Families loved it, tourists flocked to it, and kids begged their parents to go there for birthdays or special occasions. At its peak, Rainforest Cafe was opening locations in malls, tourist destinations, and even in major cities around the world. You could find Rainforest Cafes in places like Walt Disney World's Animal Kingdom, Las Vegas, London, and Tokyo. In 1997, the company went public, and for a while it seemed unstoppable. Themed restaurants were having a moment, and Rainforest Cafe was at the forefront of the trend. But as with many trends, what goes up must come down. The decline of Rainforest Cafe can be traced back to several factors, starting with the challenges of maintaining such a complex and expensive dining experience. Running a Rainforest Cafe wasn't like running a normal restaurant. The elaborate decor, animatronic animals, sound systems, and lighting required constant maintenance. These things weren't cheap, and they added significant overhead costs. At the same time, the food at Rainforest Cafe, while serviceable, was never particularly remarkable. It was more about the experience than the meal, but as other restaurants upped their games in terms of food quality and unique dining concepts, Rainforest Cafe started to look like a gimmick. Another factor was the decline of malls in the early 2000s. Many Rainforest Cafe locations were inside or near shopping malls, which were seeing fewer visitors as online shopping grew. Since Rainforest Cafe relied heavily on foot traffic and tourists, declining mall attendance meant fewer customers walking through their doors. The restaurant also began facing criticism for being too expensive. The themed environment was part of the cost, but for many families, paying high prices for what was considered average food wasn't worth it. By the mid-2000s, the novelty was starting to wear off, and themed restaurants in general were beginning to lose their cultural catch-it. Planet Hollywood had already gone bankrupt and scaled back its operations, and Hard Rock Cafe wasn't as trendy as it once was. In 2000, Rainforest Cafe was acquired by Landry's Restaurants, a company that owns several other restaurant chains like Bubba Gump Shrimp, Morton's The Steakhouse, and Saltgrass Steakhouse. Landry's kept the Rainforest Cafe brand alive, but they stopped aggressively expanding it. Instead, they focused on maintaining the most profitable locations, often those tied to big tourist attractions like Disney parks or popular vacation spots. Today, Rainforest Cafe is far from extinct, but it's no longer the household name it once was. As of the mid-2020s, there are fewer than 20 locations worldwide. The restaurants that remain are usually found in high-traffic tourist areas like Niagara Falls, Las Vegas, and Orlando. Despite its decline, Rainforest Cafe still holds a nostalgic place in the hearts of many people who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s. For millennials, it's a throwback to childhood birthday parties, family vacations, and a time when going to a restaurant could feel like an adventure. On social media, there's even been a resurgence of interest in Rainforest Cafe as part of the broader 90s nostalgia trend. TikTok and Instagram are filled with videos of people visiting Rainforest Cafe locations and marveling at the over-the-top decor, almost as if they're rediscovering a relic from another era. So why did Rainforest Cafe decline when it once seemed like such a winning concept? A big part of it comes down to the challenges of themed dining in general. Themed restaurants are expensive to build and maintain, and once the novelty wears off, they can struggle to keep customers coming back. While Rainforest Cafe's immersive jungle environment was groundbreaking in the 90s, modern diners often want more from their restaurant experience, whether it's higher quality food, more authentic themes, or simply better value for their money. Another issue was that Rainforest Cafe didn't evolve much over the years. The concept that wowed people in 1994 looked largely the same in 2010, and by then, it felt dated compared to newer, fresher dining experiences. Even so, Rainforest Cafe has managed to hold on to its niche by embracing its identity as a fun, family-friendly tourist attraction. It's not trying to compete with trendy farm-to-table restaurants or high-end dining. Instead, it leans into its kitschy, over-the-top atmosphere, which has actually become part of its charm. There's something unapologetic about the plastic vines, fake thunderstorms, and roaring animatronic gorillas that make Rainforest Cafe feel like a time capsule. Looking back, Rainforest Cafe represents a fascinating moment in pop culture history. It was part of a wave of experimental dining concepts that emerged in the 90s, when restaurants were trying to be more than just places to eat. They were entertainment venues, designed to immerse you in a specific world or theme. Whether it was the Hollywood glitz of Planet Hollywood, the rock and roll vibe of Hard Rock Cafe, or the jungle adventure of Rainforest Cafe, these places were all about creating memories as much as serving meals. For many people, Rainforest Cafe was a magical place to visit as a kid, and even if they don't go there anymore, the brand still sparks nostalgia. The question of whether Rainforest Cafe could make a big comeback is interesting. In today's era of social media and experimental marketing, the concept of a highly themed restaurant might actually have new appeal. People love Instagrammable spaces and unique dining experiences that they can share online. If Rainforest Cafe were to modernize its menu and slightly update its decor while keeping its core jungle vibe, it could potentially tap into that market. Until then, Rainforest Cafe lives on as a beloved but somewhat faded icon of 90s culture. The locations that still exist continue to draw curious tourists and nostalgic adults who want to relive the magic of their childhood. It's a reminder of a time when dining out could feel like stepping into another world. And even though the rainforest might not be as wild as it once was, it's still there for anyone who wants to take a walk on the nostalgic side. Like, comment, and subscribe for daily history and culture content.